Good, y'all. I'm Jerry, about to check out the night CM Punk left WWE. This video is about wrestling gifts. We talking about the night CM Punk walked out the WWE on Monday night, hours before Monday Night Raw. His last actual night was in the night before at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view 2014, where he was just completely unhappy with creative. He was hurt. They had him working with numerous injuries. He couldn't take time off. At that particular time, the only time you could take time off was when a wrestler had to be there, I think, like at least over 10 years or more, in order to take time off. And he was just fed up creatively. He couldn't get his WrestleMania main event spot. They didn't treat him as well as he should have been treated, and that led to him walking out. So he talked about everything that happened on the Colt Cabana's podcast, Wrestling Gifts, about to break down everything that happened the night CM Punk left. So let's go.
What's up, everyone? It's me, it's Pav, and I'm back again with another video, and I'm happy to announce that today's video is actually sponsored by HelloFresh. Figuring out what's for dinner is not at the top of anyone's summer activity list, but luckily for us, HelloFresh delivers mouth-watering, chef-crafted recipes and fresh ingredients to your door so you can spend your summer doing whatever you want. HelloFresh is your recipe for success with foolproof instructions that even I could follow to high-quality proteins and veggies. HelloFresh brings out your inner chef with every tasty, easy-to-prepare meal. And personally for me, I have been loving my experience with HelloFresh. As you guys know, I spent countless hours making these videos, and the last thing on my mind while editing is, oh, I gotta go to the grocery store. Oh, I should look up a new recipe.
Exactly.
So while I was working, I used to resort to fast food very often, which got very unhealthy and very boring real quick. But with HelloFresh, I get fresh ingredients and recipes straight to the door, and I'm out here cooking things that I would have never ever made before. It's been fun, it's been easy. I'm learning how to be a better
I gotta learn how to cook
tasty, healthy food, and I'm saving money. It's not only more
I definitely gotta learn how to cook.
shopping, it's cheaper
I can't
too,
cook for
and it's
worth
also
a damn.
25% less expensive than takeout. It's been a win-win in every single way, and it's been so easy. HelloFresh has been a game changer for me, and I promise you it'll be one for you as well. So go to HelloFresh.com and use code WrestlingGifts.
Fuck all that.
Last night, CM Punk made his long-awaited return to the wrestling ring, and the old man, despite the injuries and the drama, still has it. CM Punk is the most polarizing man in wrestling, and whether you love him or hate him, it's hard to deny the impact he has had on the wrestling business. And the question is, how long will this return last? A week, a month, a few years? We're gonna find out. But with all this talk about CM Punk returning, let's go back to a different time, before backstage fistfights and beef with best friends, before there ever was an AEW. Let's go back to when it seemed like CM Punk was on top of the world in the WWE.
We thought he was happy.
Years ago, it was the Royal Rumble 2013, and after being WWE champion for 434
years ago.
days, the longest modern reign at the time, CM Punk finally lost the title to The Rock. And whether it was the right move or the wrong move,
that was the wrong move.
This man, against all odds, was the champion for 434 days, a legendary achievement. But little did we know that in just 1 year after ending his historic reign at the very same pay-per-view, he would be gone from the WWE. And many wondered and questioned, how does a man who got pushed that hard leave the company in a year? How does someone who got so many opportunities and so many matches just leave? Half of the fans understood it, and half of the fans called him an ungrateful bum. It was one of the most shocking departures in wrestling history that came out of nowhere. But to really understand the night CM Punk left, we begin all the way back in September of 2011.
Damn.
CM Punk had officially become the hottest star in the company. After almost leaving the company but re-signing the last minute and having that classic match with Cena, Punk was a made man. But somehow, the company turned the hottest story that they had in years into nothing. In less than 2 months, and by September, CM Punk was no longer feuding against Cena or for the title. Instead, he was up against Triple H. And you would
Kevin
think
Nash,
CM Punk, who had just become
Brock
a true star,
Lesnar,
go over the 42-year-old part-timer who is now an EVP of the company. But no. Just 3 months after setting the business on fire, Punk was losing to Triple H. There was no rematch. This was it. 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring. And the wild part was, in 2 months, CM Punk does win the title from Alberto Del Rio. It was as if, hey, before you go on to win the title, we have to humble you a little bit for that noise you made in the summer. But that loss right there to Triple H in 2 months after becoming the hottest star in the company and what was supposed to be the biggest run of his career, that is where the resentment started that would lead to him leaving in 2014. But anyway, CM Punk does become champion, and the fans love it, and it was a big deal. And I don't think anyone expected him to get a 434-day reign, but that's exactly what we got. But the issue was, as everyone knows, Punk was not the guy despite holding the company's ultimate prize. Over the next few months, the title that was this magical thing that the company cared so much about in the past just became a prop. And very rarely did CM Punk get to defend the title in the main event of a pay-per-view. Very rarely did the title feel like the WWE Championship. Now, was Punk gonna headline over Cena versus Rock at WrestleMania, or Cena versus Lesnar in April of 2012?
Nope.
No, of course not. But for so many months, they did the title and they did CM Punk dirty. Hey, CM Punk is defending the title in an Elimination Chamber. Nah, let's have Cena versus Kane in an ambulance match headline the show. Bro, it's 2012.
Why?
Who cares about Cena versus Kane? It's over the limit. Punk versus Bryan is going to be a banger. Nah, Cena versus Laurinaitis in one of the worst matches ever should still main event. And it just kept going and going. And yeah, you could argue, oh, you know, Bryan versus Punk is not main event material. So why didn't they
should have been.
That was main event material? He was the WWE champion. And as time went on, CM Punk sure was the champion, but they were treating this man like he was just another B-level champion. Now, obviously, Punk was doing the best he could. He was still having banger matches. The crowd still loved him. Every night he was either the loudest reaction or the second loudest reaction. And even though the company wasn't treating him how you would think they would treat a guy who had been champion for half a year, he was still the people's champion. No offense to The Rock. He was gaining this cult-like following which remains to this day. It was the work that he put in during this reign, which is why he's still the household name that he is. For the first half of 2012, CM Punk was doing his thing, and in July of 2012, to spice things up, they had him turn heel and attack The Rock. As the year ended,
that was a bad move on their part, because CM Punk had the highest merchandise sales that summer.
And by the time we circle back to Rumble 13, the night he lost the title, Punk was a mess. The injuries had gotten out of control. Those 434 days of being champion, they took a toll on his body. In 2012 alone, he wrestled 179 matches. So every other day he was wrestling. So it was clear to see how even though he had the reign, even though it seemed like he was on top of the world, he was miserable. By the time 2013 arrived, he had suffered a partially torn meniscus and had to miss the 2012 TLC pay-per-view, in which he was supposed to have a TLC match against Ryback. He skipped the pay-per-view to get surgery, and just 1 month later after the surgery, the WWE first match back put him back in the TLC match. There was no easing it in. There was no like, oh, let's take some precautions and then we'll do the TLC match. Not straight up. TLC was
that was just disrespectful,
and you can see how that would make someone feel tilted.
That was just hella disrespectful on WWE part.
The company was an interesting man. In the eyes of the fans, CM Punk was legitimately in God mode. See, in 2013, he had a top 5 Raw match of all time against Cena, where they absolutely tore the house down. And then he had a WrestleMania Classic.
He should have won that match.
Match of the night at the biggest show of the year, a match that nobody will ever forget. He had an insanely hyper turn in his hometown in June, where he defeated Jericho, and another classic with Brock Lesnar. In my eyes and a lot of people's eyes, a legit 5-star match. So for everyone watching, whether we were CM Punk fans or not, it was like, holy shit, this guy is the man. Every night he's going off, he's delivering. It seemed like he was in the prime, if anything. But that couldn't have been further from the truth, because the issue was, that's not how it was for Punk. Punk at this point was still a mess. He was dealing with so many injuries, and he was still bitter at the fact that he did not main event WrestleMania. He felt that he should have been in the main event of WrestleMania 29. He felt that he deserved it, and he earned it after having that historic reign. And honestly, it's a sentiment that a lot of fans had back then, and still have to this day. And I think he was bitter at this point because the realization hit him that if after 2011 and setting the business on fire, if after 2012 and having that historic reign,
a lot of people said CM Punk was the reason they came back into watching wrestling again.
Classic with Taker at Mania and was getting a bunch of praise, but he never got even paid close to what Taker, Cena, Rock, Triple H, and Lesnar were getting paid. He was mad that he finally got time off to heal after Mania just for the company to call him and beg him to come back early for Payback because the pay-per-view was in Chicago and it wasn't going to sell out without CM Punk. He was mad at Ryback injuring him again in 2013, giving him a concussion and broken ribs. He was mad at losing every big match he was in, and even though he was putting in so much work, he was mad that he had to lose to Lesnar after already putting over a part-timer earlier in the year. And the thing is, you can definitely play devil's advocate here. It's like, hey Punk, did you really think you were going to beat Lesnar? Did you really think that was the right move? Do you really think that you would have ended the streak, etc., etc.? But you gotta realize from his perspective, at the end of the day, he is just a man who's going to work, who feels like he's getting disrespected, like the short end of the stick. I don't think him losing to Lesnar was the issue. It was everything that led up to it, and then it's like, hey, can you go do us a favor and, put over Lesnar? In his eyes, he was not getting the respect that he deserves. He wasn't getting paid what he thinks he deserves, and even though he was putting up numbers, wrestling injured, doing everything he can do to help the company, he wasn't getting the respect he deserved in his opinion. And at the end of the day, you gotta look at it like this. It's no different than if me and you at our jobs, if we were getting claps. I can see why people hated on Punk for his complaints here, I get it, but you have to realize that as a professional who was very good at their job, he would be a sucker if he didn't feel like this.
He felt like he needed more, he wanted more, that he was worth. He put in all that work all that time. The numbers was high on his part.
CM Punk run was from 2011 to 2013, realistically,
he deserved
it would have been 10 times better. But at the end of 2013, going into 2014, Punk, who re-signed in 2011 because now he thought his voice would matter, that now things would be different, was left a broken down, angry, cranky man who did not love what he was doing anymore. And little did we know that going into the 2014 Royal Rumble, it was going to be the last time we ever saw him in a WWE ring. This show is infamous in a lot of ways, but most notably for the ending, where the returning Batista came back and won the match and the fans booed like crazy because everyone watching at the time really wanted this to be Daniel Bryan's WrestleMania. But before the ending, before the crowd turned on the match, it was CM Punk that started the match at number 1. It was his last match ever and he went out there for 49 minutes, almost an hour.
I really thought CM Punk was going to win
the Royal Rumble match. His last match, he had no intention going into this match of this being the last one. He actually saw the Royal Rumble as one more chance to show the company that he deserved a higher spot on the ladder. He told himself, I'm going to change their minds. I'm going to have this awesome Royal Rumble, and they're going to be like, God damn, alright, Punk needs to be in the main event. He hasn't been in the main event before, in reference to a WrestleMania main event. So Punk went in there motivated, and he went in there with the intention of putting on a special performance. But as we know, that is definitely not what happened. After an innocent clothesline from Kofi Kingston, that was the moment where everything changed. I remember watching this match and not noticing anything. Everything was fine, nobody was injured, nothing happened. But in reality, CM Punk, after getting hit with that clothesline, he was concussed, he had no idea where he was, what was happening, and he was almost out like a light. So, according to Punk, he went to the corner and he told the ringside doctor about the concussion, and Punk says the doc simply replied, what do you want me to do? As Punk lay there not knowing what was next, what to do, word got backstage that Punk was injured, and the WWE sent out Corporate Kane to take out Punk from the match. But they didn't have Kane just take him out, do a move or two, and that was it. They had Kane take him out of the ring, and CM Punk, who was clearly concussed and they had Kane chokeslam him through an announce table.
That right there, looking back on it, that was the wrong move.
A dead Phil Brooks. And at the time, watching this, it just felt like it was a part of the storyline. Nothing seemed weird about it. Nothing seemed different. We're like, alright, I guess the build of the Authority versus CM Punk is starting now. But nah, he was taken backstage, and that was going to be his last night on TV. Unhappy, tired, injured, dead, unmotivated, CM Punk had enough. The next night on Raw, he showed up backstage and had a private meeting with Triple H and Vince, where he said to Vince, you have shackled me, you have creatively stifled me, you've made this into a very toxic environment, I no longer want to be here. And then he told Triple H that he does not want to wrestle him at WrestleMania, which was the original plan that year, and then said, I seriously resent you for not putting me over 3 years ago when you should have, referring back to Night of Champions 2011. Vince even said, oh pal, it's the concussion talking, but CM Punk had enough. After hugging Vince and shaking hands with Triple H, he left the room, and he was officially gone. Just over 2 years after the pipe bomb, after the legendary Money in the Bank match, after a 434-day title reign, he left. I remember finding this out as it happened and just being in shock. I was never the biggest.
I was shocked reading the dirt sheets.
He made wrestling fun. He made it interesting, and many times he made it must-watch TV. And I really thought this was just a bump in the road, that he would be back, that maybe in 2015, maybe later in the year, that he would return.
Yeah.
But he never did.
Never
and while I was making this video, it really hit me that when Punk left the WWE in 2014, it was honestly an end of an era. The early 2010s were not the best years of wrestling, but the one bright spot was CM Punk. He brought back so many fans into wrestling in 2011. I remember the older kids in my school
watching wrestling
again because CM Punk made it cool again. He made wrestling exciting again for a period of time. He revived the WWE in 2011, and that 2-year run made him into a legend and gave us memories that we will love forever as people who grew up watching that era. Whether you love him or hate him, you're never going to forget the feeling of watching a prime CM Punk come out in 2011 or 2012 or 2013, especially if it's in Chicago. You're never going to forget the promos, the mic work, the moments, just everything.
It's clobbering time.
And even though backstage, little did we know he was miserable and he hated everything about it, as fans, this was a special time.
He never showed it on camera.
In a time where the product was very rough, CM Punk was our savior. And
he was still a professional.
What sucked about him leaving at Royal Rumble 2014 was we never got the closure. He never got the proper goodbye. We never got the proper goodbye. It wasn't the ending fitting for someone who gave us so much joy, who gave so much to wrestling, who revived wrestling, which is why when he popped up at AEW, it was so special. And now, after all the beefs and the dramas over at AEW, he's back again. And the crazy thing is, the magic is still there. And now maybe, just maybe, this time, we finally get a happy ending in the CM Punk journey. Because regardless of what you think, this man means a lot to professional wrestling.
That's true. Alright y'all, another great video, man. Let me know down below in the comments of what y'all thought of my reactions to this video. Like, comment, subscribe. But till next time, I'm out. Peace.